Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's stitching, my video is going to be all about embellishing the flowers. So last week we laid out all of the big flowers, popped a little bit of crocheting elements in there, a couple little lacy bits. I had one of those little lacy pieces, those leaves left, and I've pinned it up the top here. Sort of felt like it could work in up there. So I guess the first thing I need to do is try and remember what I all used up here in the fencing. So I've got a little tray here and I thought I might just grab together my elements. So I had the very pale blue beads. I grabbed, as I sat down, my box of ribbons. So in there is like a pale blue, or is that a white? I think it was this one. There was a buttery cream that made those little rosettes. And I think it was the Lincraft one. It's a bit of a cheapie. It's not the best quality. It's, I would say, completely synthetic. It's not like these ones are all silk and they're beautiful. So if I'm doing embroidery where the focus is some flowers and things like that, that's the brand that I would use, Colour Streams. They're an Australian company, local actually to me. This mass-produced barely silk, I would say it's rayon all the way, and this as well. If you have too much of a length of it, it starts fraying the sides of the ribbon, so you've got to keep it real small. Now the other beads I used, I think all came from this little tumbler, which is some broken down jewellery. And I can see a gold one there. Where's that little guy? He's a bit of a favourite. Have my container. He's always close at hand. Get a little bit of sparkle. So that looks like my colour palette. Now, as in threads, I've stitched just standard crochet cotton over the leaves and French knots in there. Oh, there's another pearl. Oh no. Gosh, it feels like forever since I've done this. Oh no, there is another pearl in there. It's a real soft calico coloured pearl. That one. Yep. I think that's it. Oh, I've got a blue thread. What is that? Is that this one? Sort of seems a bit darker. It's always a challenge matching. Yeah, it's a darker blue. Always a challenge matching up the colours that you've used in the past, isn't it, when you haven't been on your work for a little while. I'll just grab this blue, and I'm hoping it was something out of here. Maybe this one. It's a real dark blue. I don't think it's that. That's never been opened. I might have to go further afoot to find the blue. I do have another container of blue. Hold that thought, guys. Just going to grab that container. Okay. I could use that if I got stuck, but I think it's this guy in the back here. I think that's it. So it's just a little bit more royal. Okay. Well, there you go. There's the colour palette. So, need a chenille needle because that allows me to drag that ribbon through. got a blue thread, cream thread, depending on the, there it is. Yeah. Depending on the colour of beads is what I'm trying to say. Finish your sentences, girl. The other thing I've got is some stones. I thought I might start with those pebbles. Let's go with them. So these guys I got from Spotlight, and up at the houses I put a couple little pebbles in just for a bit of fun to show stepping stones. And when I finished the last video I was like, what am I going to put through here? And stepping stones seem to be the way to go. The only thing I'll say is I don't have a brown thread. I had been using a reel of cotton and it was going really well, and then suddenly it just started snapping. So I don't know, I end up throwing it in the bin. It's like I got a little bit out of it and then it just kept breaking down on me. So I'm going to need to get probably a stranded cotton, break it down to one thread, and that'll get me out of trouble. I would have a sewing machine cotton somewhere, but that container of cottons is actually up at the other house as I'm moving between craft rooms still. Oh my goodness, I tell you. Very close, very close. What are we, right, marching through May now? Pretty much there. Okay. Needle. I'm going to need something fine for these pebbles. So, Reginald, come on up. Step up to the plate. Now, the challenge with these rocks is getting that the right shape. Like, talk about put pressure on yourself. I sort of feel like I need something under it too. I was playing with some of these fabrics and I think I will persist with that. It just feels like I stepped straight out of the door of that house into nothing. Like I need to soften that a little. Like I just need a little something, something. I don't know, it's the wrong colour. I keep going to that fabric. I need, where's my bucket of scraps? Hang on. See what's in my big bucket of scraps from my quilting days when I was doing a lot of country farm tones. It's very dark. Go from one extreme to the other, don't I? We're not doing bitumen. We just need a hint, a little hint of something. I'm just rummaging here. That's very orange. Nope. That's very mustard. Nope. Maybe we just go straight to the rocks. Let's have a look. We sort of need to be in the browns. See, I've been using a lot of the browns. I'm going to run out. There's a fairly dark one. And if the hole is not in the right spot, too dark, they don't sit right. They're not real flat. Some little boulders at the side of the house path. Oh gosh, you could seriously fiddle. Maybe we work to the perimeter of the path and stop trying to get a path as such. Yeah. I'm not convinced, guys, that that's even the right way to go. They're okay, but they're weird shapes. And they'd be great for, say, rambling rocks with little flowers growing in them. I'm not going to do it. I think I can create something there anyway with beads. And I just spotted some crystally beads. Maybe we make them the rocks. We go a bit more glamorous. Yeah, let's do that. That's more fun, isn't it? Okay. Now, I need a beading little bowl just to hold them so I don't have a hang of a mess. I can still use this brown thread. So let's put a bit of sparkle at the door of our church, is what I think we're going to do. Now, the other thing I was thinking is the village is getting bigger as we go. So all of my trimmings can be a little bit bigger, I'm thinking. So my flowers are bolder. My rocks are going to be bigger. In this case, they're going to be these beads. These beads have a shiny side and a muted side. They've sort of put a paint finish on one side of the bead and you spin it around and it's sparkly, which is lovely because when you're doing needlework, it gives you the option of adjusting it to suit your piece. So I really enjoy these two-tone beads. It can be as bright and shiny as you like or as muted. So I think what we'll do is I always start with my biggest beads or my biggest features first, because that fills in most of the space, and then soften it with some smaller things. So I'm going to jump down here, anchor it with a stitch, and pick up another one. So the plan is to create a little pathway to the door using all sorts of beads and pearls and bits and bobs. We could even pop a few flowers in there to soften it. I might just leave it at that side. And I'm going to pop over. I might just put an anchor stitch there. I guess while I'm there, let's put some pearls in. Drop down a size. These are old pearls from a necklace that a lovely lady kindly gifted to me. So that's just a couple more larger elements. I'm going to change my thread. That brown is just being a little bit too bold for my liking. So let's knock that back to the white thread. Now, where is the thread? There it is. The other thing I want to do is make some little floral elements too, with layers of fabric, just little circles with a little pearl in the center. Let's just drop in a couple little pearly bits. I'll put the whole lot in there. I'd say I'll end up using them all up on this piece and they'll be gone. They're just the right caramelly colour for a pearl. You don't often see them that golden colour in bought beads, so old pieces of jewellery are really good for this type of unusual colours. It's nearly a an ivory. So let's get some smaller beads in next. Then we might make a little flower, because I feel like I could easily bead this and then miss the opportunity to slide in a little flower. So I'll bring my needle up there. So we need some soft fabrics as well as some solid fabrics, as in I'm just looking through my little box of tricks here. Let's see what we've got. So we need some netting, and we need, probably that would do, probably a bit, little bit of silk, that'll fray to bits. I think we can do better than that. I'm thinking these guys actually. So all I'm going to do is cut a rough circle. They're really quick to do. And then cut out of this netting. So it's layers. So you can use 2 layers, 3 layers, whatever you want. They just make the best little cluster flowers. So it's just that on top of that. Catch it through the needle. Now you can pinch it so that it looks all ruffled up, or you can leave it flat. I bet this needle won't go through this bead. I'm going to guarantee. Oh no, it did. Awesome. And then just stitch it down. So if you want your flower to feel a little bit more cone-like or shaped or 3-dimensional, just sort of pinch your little piece of fabric as you're loading it onto your needle with a little stitch, and that will bring it together a little bit. So I'm going to go up here and we'll make another one. So I want the flowers to appear like they're behind the fence, like we did with the houses. We're just getting that little bit of 3-dimensional feel. Just a rough little circle. Where's the netting gone? There it is. The challenge of working with see-through fabrics, hey? Cut a little piece off, make it into a rough circle. So you could make these ahead of time, where you make a heap of little flowerets. So we want the round piece first, the netting, and then pick up a bead. And that's it. They're quite fast to make, and they're a lovely way of lift that fence line up, because we want it to be tucked in behind the fence. And then just put that extra stitch through to hold it all. And try, if you can, go through the bead again. It really anchors it down. And that's it. So those 2 beads sitting there, I'm going to pop a little smaller bead in amongst them, just to make it feel like it's a bit blended. Which ones will we use? Might go to a couple of these. Might just pick up 2. And then stitch them down. That's it. And just build your cluster. Now what we might do is, up the top I had lines of blue beads going up as if they were a plant. See that? And then I had pistol stitches in amongst it. So we'll emulate that again, where we did 3 3 little blue beads. It's like a hollyhock, if we want to get technical on what I was thinking at the time. It was not the case. Oh, I've curved them. So I've gone into too tight. So I've in turn sort of made them curve. You want to drop down your needle just at the top of the stack. Now I feel like I'm putting the horse behind the cart, and I need to get some pistol stitches in there before it's hard to maneuver due to beads being in my way. So I'm just going to finish that there, thread up. Oh gosh, it's like having multiple things on the go. I love it. I love it when there's like stacked needles hanging everywhere with thread on them, and I'm layering. It's like having a paint palette in front of you with all the colours, and you're dipping and going from paint palette to paint palette. I like that when I get to that stage with needlework where I'm sort of scooting between lots of elements to build up a scene, and I'm focused in just a little area. I find that just a buzz. So what we're doing now is we're creating just a little plant, a grass-like structure. Now if this was in a hoop, it'd be a lot easier, but nothing like slow stitch to break all the rules. Be hard to put this in a hoop now because it's so heavily embellished, and you'd just be breaking down your surfaces of things. Now I've got my needle. That's the only downfall, is when you get yourself all twisted up in your work. There we go. So let's get another one over here. But you could really play with your foliage on this piece. Imagine little feather stitch plants all through it. And I'll come over towards the door so we can get a couple of these little sprigs of goodness knows what they are coming up onto the side. Of the building. So you could run a vine up the church, some wisteria. Oh gosh, that'd be beautiful. I remember doing wisteria on a bag. I've shown the bag to you before. I can't remember the pattern name now, but anyway, doesn't really matter. We're talking wisteria. And the actual clusters of flowers were done separately onto a little piece of fabric, lots of French knots, and then you added a little bit of glue to it to make it solid, and then cut it out, and then added it three-dimensionally to a vine that you'd embroidered onto the side of a building. It was so pretty. And I guess that was my very first taste of being a bit dimensional. I'm going through the door there. Just want a couple up there. And I'm thinking that my pebbles are going to be just some stitches. I've got a bit of thread here left, so I'm just going to do some little stitches here just to denote that there's something happening there. It's not just blank. Yeah, that's good. I'll do some little ones, some bigger ones, all at odd angles as we sort of drift down. It just shows a little bit of undulating ground. Yeah, that's good. I think if I continued down the path of an actual fabric piece in there, it would have been all I would have seen when I looked at it. Where now my garden is starting to grow, I feel like there's enough interest there anyway. It was just complicating things. What's the saying? Less is more sometimes. Doesn't usually apply to embroidery, but especially when you're doing flowers. But anyway, I still think I need something to anchor the bottom of the building. Maybe what I'm missing is the white thread to come along there. See how the door under the schoolhouse has that line? I'm wondering if I should just do some white thread. Maybe that's what it is. But I do like my ground. It's not as in your face now. So let's solve that little problem. Well, it was never a problem. It just, I hadn't nutted it out yet. Oh, I knew I jabbed myself. Look. Oh, straight into the cuticle. Ow. So let me just grab a little bit of this white. Yeah, I'm going to do 2 rows of white through there. But first, let's finish the blue beads, our little garden. So we want another little stack of them here. Here comes Fudgy. He's going to come and say hello. He always wants to come when I'm beading. One of them is small, so it's not going to slide on. Neither is that one. What's going on? I haven't changed my needle. Yet now I can't get beads to go on. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Just another little sprig of blue. Hey, Fudgy. If he jumps up here, we're going to have all sorts of troubles. I'll put some blue beads in there, put the lid on, in anticipation of a pusscat. Oh, he's gone down the hallway. Maybe he's not coming to visit. But let's just preempt a cat. Just in case. And we'll get a few little beads. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to use them all. I'm messing them all up, aren't I? And a couple of these. Little bead soup. It's all right. Once I finish filming, I'll be heading to the couch. Going to find myself a good movie. And it won't hurt to have all these in a little container. Because otherwise I've got multiple containers over. Oh, I'd hate to think what underneath my couch looks like. And it's a shocker. It doesn't allow me to get underneath. It's all stitched in tight. So once they're gone, they're gone. One, 2, 3. Okay. There we go. So sort of once you find your point in your garden where you nut out your combination of elements, then away you go. It's just hit repeat. And try and sort of finish a zone. I find if I jump all over the place, I potentially miss areas where I've missed a particular element. So I always try and stay in a particular area and finish it. Then I move on to the next area. But it's up to you how you do it. But that's sort of how I process an area, so to speak. To me, that area now feels finished in at the front of that house. The church up in here, it's got quite thick, a little bit thinner there. I've just drifted a bit of that blue beading, lost my thread, just down a little bit. I might skip along the path a little bit more now. Just going to put an extra stitch through them to hold them. Now I'm going to come down here now and pick up a couple smaller little beads. Oh, he's doing the scat cat. I don't know if you can hear him. He's skidding around. He's being cheeky, being naughty. Maybe a pale and then a gold. Okay, so I think we've worked out the path. That's plenty on that little side. This side of the path, because it's more visually seen, I'll pretty much do the whole row. So let me just, oh, he's feisty. I can hear him. Can you guys hear him? Naughty little cat. Wants to play. All right. So what we might do, how are we going for time? 32 minutes already, for goodness sakes. All right, I was going to make some more of these on that opposite side, but I think we'll move on from there. I think you got the general gist. So there'll be more of these little cluster flowers all the way down here. Let's have a look. There's my beading needle. Keep that together. Let's do a little bit of ribbon embroidery. So what did I do? I did some grub roses, and then in the flowers I did some ribbon as well as pistol stitch. So let's refresh the old memory. Grab ourselves a little bit of this ribbon. It's a white, but it's a bit of a pale see-through white. It's not what I'd call a solid colour, so it tends to pick up the background. So when you glance at it, you think you've used a very pale blue, but you haven't. It's just that it's so, it's yeah, a bit translucent, for want of a better description. So what we'll do is we'll make this one a bit of a feature flower. And just do some stitches in it. That's it. It's just about giving it a bit of a layered effect of, you know, jazzing up the flower below, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now I didn't stitch the leaves in any way up the top. Instead I added blue leaves from another fabric and stitched white stitching in those, which I'm yet to do. So this is just putting some extra petals within the rose. Really simple. So building a new base of which to embellish your rose. So whip around the perimeter. Gosh, this is cheap blooming ribbon. It's good for practicing with, but if you do get access to some of the cheaper ones, look, grab them, I reckon. You can always just practice your stitching with them. But if you were doing, you know, a beautiful piece that may be going onto a bag or a clutch or something, or a pillow, I'd certainly go a better quality ribbon, because you know it'll just break down. You'll be disappointed. So that's that one. And I might, I don't know, see, they look like they're looking away. So maybe, do we ignore that? I think I'm going to ignore that angling and just follow the same sort of thing. And once these petals go in, it'll just be a blur of colour in behind. We're creating our own design now. And I've run out of ribbon, but that's okay. I think you get the general gist. I've used it up anyway at the back. That's really good. So let's finish that off. So I can carry on with that piece. Now let's get this guy. So that ribbon, this blue, it just looks like I did pistol stitches again. To create like some stamens. And aim a few between the ribbon, a few on top of the ribbon. It's just a little detail. And look, when this is on a wall, no one's going to even notice them, but when people stand there and really look into the work, that's when they start seeing all this little detail. So don't stress if you can't see it easily. It's all layers. Makes your piece look more interesting. And look, it's the true connoisseurs of this world we are in. They're the ones that are going to appreciate it. You'll know an embroiderer when they stand there and you see them explore your piece and spot all these little stitches. You'll be like, aha, that's someone from my world. The average Joe will never see them. So I might just leave them around the top of the flower. Real simple. And I'll pretty much do, unless I think of something else, I'll pretty much do a very similar treatment to all of the flowers as I move across the piece. That'll give me consistency with the village above. Now the next thing I want to do is put some features in the center. So we're back to the beading needle. And we just cluster up the center. And it seems that I did like the calico colored bead with some French knots as well. It was a bit of a mix. And it was as simple as that. Come on, you went through the first time. Just that little bit of thread in there from the first stitch is just enough to stop it from allowing the needle slide through. So what else do we need to figure out? I think that's probably all the elements, to be honest. Now it's hit repeat. There were some flowers up the top that had a, oh, I know what's missing is the little rosettes. Don't know if we'll need them. Remember I was saying that up the top the houses were finer, and we're getting big and chunky now as we get to the foreground of the piece. So little flowery things might be best in the path zone and over at the church, the schoolhouse. But I'm thinking this edge here, no. And leading into the tree, yeah, no. I think it needs to be a bit chunkier. Oh, I did find when I sat down some of this. There's only the one, but it's come from a piece of lace that's in a container behind me. So I had it sitting at the front of the schoolhouse. So I thought I might go hunt out a few more of those types of elements just to make it a little bit different from up the top. And it sort of helps connect that white lace. So it's got a little bridle down this end of town. Maybe that's a hall. So you have your wedding, that's it. You have your wedding and then you go to the hall to have the party, the reception. And it's a schoolhouse during the week. See, it would have been a bit like that because they use the buildings for multiple reasons, you know. If there's a town meeting, it was at the town hall. If there was, I nearly said yoga classes, but I somehow don't think this town is doing yoga classes. But you know what I mean. It's that community space. Every town needs that community space. So I'm just ending off the little flowers of the beads that are in the center of that flower. And I'm going to rethread. This is going to take hours to do. What have we, 42 minutes, and I've just done that bit and that bit. Oh my goodness. Seriously. Well, that's okay. A little bit at a time, nibble away at it. I'm going to rename my houses down the bottom, my shops too, I've decided. I remember when Susanna was drawing this, and I kept saying to her, make the town a very sewing orientated town. That was my 2 cents worth. And she decided in the end to stick with the butcher, the grocer and the baker. My piece, Susanna, I can do what I want now. And I'm going to rename my buildings. So this is going to be all about sewing. My town has nothing but sewing shops. Everyone is starving. There's no food. You've got to jump in your horse and buggy and go to the next town. I'm the benefactor of this town, and I've built the church, and I've built the town hall and the schoolhouse. And I live in that place there with the sunroom. That's where I reside. I've planted flowers through the whole thing. I've been to Bunnings and just planted blue flowers. Like, no one's allowed to plant anything else in my town. So down here, quilt shop, got to have a quilt shop. Post office, I might leave that because I can post fabric out to everyone from there. Definitely need a cafe. These ones here, I think we need to have a think about we need 3 other businesses. So throw your suggestions in the comments, because the next video in this series will be the process of starting these houses. So I'd love to hear what you think. Well, give me a giggle. I think I need a lolly shop. Do we need a lolly shop? I think we need a lolly shop. I think we might need a lace shop, a button shop. Have a think about it, guys. Let me know. and we're going to rename our buildings. I could forego the post office if you guys come up with 4 really good suggestions. I could probably lose the post office. We're not losing the cafe. Nope. We've got to have coffee. And let's assume there's cakes in there. Oh my goodness, imagine what we can do to those windows. Yeah, we need cake and coffee. I'm just going to be a bit sneaky and throw some French knots up into here. And I haven't finished my petals, but I think they won't be in the way, and I want to use that little bit of thread left, and then I might finish it, and to get rid of that last little bit I might go back up to the door Oh, it's tiny. Don't worry about it, girl. Goodness sakes. Why is there a pin I can see? What's that? Hello? Have we spotted metal? What am I seeing there? Is that a pin? Yeah, it is. It's under the leaves. Ah, it happens, doesn't it? Let's see if we can get it out. And then I think what I'll do is I'll get my blue fabric that has the, there he is, tiny little guy. Dangerous. You know, when you grab the fabric thinking you're done, and bam, you've got an applique pin or a plique pin, depending on which nation you were born in. Okay, now the blue fabric. It's part of a jelly roll, and it was the fabric I used in a Roxy project for Christmas. And I was taking out of here the leaves and some of the little flowers, to be honest, but I'm thinking I just want a couple. And it was just a case of fussy cut them out. One. Just adds that little extra colour. So first of all, I would just stitch them down with blue thread. I might keep those two together, whether we've got the right spot for it. We might have to break them down a little bit more. Fudge must have gone for a nap. He's done his little zoomies down the hallway, bellowing at me as he goes. And these ones, I use the cream crocheting pearl cotton to put some little veins on them, like just that little extra. Yeah. And this guy here, I might be able to get up in here. It's such a small detail, but trust me, it all layers up really well when you do it. Yep, there we go. Now, I'm just going to pop a little dab of glue there to hold it in case I get myself losing it in transport. But we do have time. I can get a stitch in there. It's a tiny little detail and probably never really going to be appreciated, but once I show you what I do with them. I'm going to have to put a stitch into them, guys, too. So just bear with me. Oh, don't be knocking the... I'm rushing now. I need to slow down. It's all good. Plenty of time. So I've just grabbed my blue thread, my beading needle, and I just want to put a couple little stitches into them to hold them. I will be coming back and doing a, did I do a fly stitch or a fly stitch? Been doing a lot of feather stitch lately. That's the wonky one, where the fly stitch is just a series of V's, or Y's, sorry. Well, they're V's and Y's stacked on top of each other. If you want to get a little tuition on it, head over to Jennifer Clouston's channel. She's the one with the 3 embroidery books, and she'll go through the technique she uses. But to be honest, there's heaps of them out there that can give you a lesson on it. Okay, so I've just run some stitches up the center just to tack him in. We got time? We've got time. We've got 10 minutes easily. And we'll do this one just to hold him. So my green ones don't have any additional stitching. They're just there in their own beauty. And I think if I remember rightly, there's so much shading in them anyway that they're quite interesting without me trying to embroider them. And this is more of a scrappy layered effect. So detailed embroidery like that, I just didn't feel like it was the piece for it, or my piece anyway. You might think differently when you look over your leaves, but I think I can have more fun with other elements. And this guy, just a couple stitches just to anchor him. It's probably overkill, but what the hang. The ones going up the side of the building probably won't get all this treatment, so I'm building a bit of a cluster here. This one up here might be a little more simple. I'll assess him when I get there. Okay. I didn't end up cutting that doily off. I just bent him around the back of the piece and stitched him down. Okay. So they're now anchored. Now I'm going to come back with this thread and do the fly stitch I was talking about. So I'm going to start at the point of the leaf, and you place down the first stitch. Really helps anchor the little guy as well. Then I'm going to come up to the side. Probably not a deep enough stitch, and I've come off of the fabric. Okay, I'm just going to repeat that because I didn't go deep enough into the little leaf. So when I came to the side to finish the stitch, I was off the leaf. Oh, it's better. So now I've got a little bit of fabric I can stitch into, and then down the other side, creating that loop, and then we're going to come up at the base of that first stitch to anchor it, and then we go again. And I chose this stitch because on that little leaf is a similar design from the artist who created it on the fabric. So I'm just emulating pretty much what's there. There's no initiative here at all, really, design-wise, because the artist has shown me a very simple vine, and what do they call it? Vein to the leaf. So this time I'm doing a scoop of the fabric instead of going up, down, just to speed it up. Oh, it gets fiddly, doesn't it, when you start layering? So that's it. Just a simple little stitch on top of the leaf, just to add a little bit extra detail. And you can do as much or as little as you like. How we go at the time? We're cruising. Let's visit some of these other leaves. I don't think there's much else really to go through that I did up the top. I'm just, while I'm doing this stitching, there is those grub roses, but I don't know if I'll do them, to be honest. Oh, whoops. Concentrate, girl, concentrate. I think what I might do, instead of I'm just wondering if I do the bridal roses instead of the grub roses, but they look so pretty up there. I keep glancing up to those, and they just look really pretty. Can I do a grub rose or a ruched rose? Then I don't think they're grub roses. Oh, I keep using the wrong words for the wrong name of the, just ignore all that. You know what I'm like. It's when you're sitting around with all the girls at your craft table and someone's using a technical word that you just think is not quite the right one. So then a debate breaks out over the correct name for a stitch. That's what it's like on my channel. I'm sure you're all sitting there stitching going, no, Corrine, I think it's a such and such. And you're probably right, but then we all hop on YouTube to get a definition of said flower or stitch. And it just becomes hilarious. I'm going to do one. The thing I'll say is this ribbon is thicker than the one I used up the top. So I'm thinking it might actually look super cool. Just need a bigger needle for this guy. Otherwise I'll end up disintegrating the edge of this. See, it's so much wider. I'm going to say, at a guess, it's probably, how wide is this one from 13 mil? Oh, it's not 13 mil. I don't have any more tags. Probably 7, if you're wondering. So it should make quite a luscious. Just going to do a knot, purely because this ribbon does not like having the needle go through it too much. And the only thing I'll say is I've got a very blunt bloomin' needle here, so it may be a bit problematic. We'll give it a go. I think that's going to hide my, might force it into that little spot there. So zigzag down. Oh, it just does not like. Now you technically then finish it with a colonial knot at the end, stops pulling through. Oh, come on. But that is going to hold. There we go. Nice little grub rose. We might then come up here. So you do a colonial knot at the beginning of it if you're so inclined, and that will sort of force that knot to hold your ribbon in position when you finish off your little rose. But if you're working with a heap of thick fabrics, oh, you little cutie. So I will jump around, I think, with that ribbon and try and squeeze a few more in. I might come over here. It's just going to provide that. I'll do the colonial knot wind up first, and then you zigzag down the ribbon. If you had a nice sharp chenille needle, you wouldn't be butchering your fabric or your ribbon like I am. If I was using really good quality ribbon, yeah, I'd go and find a chenille needle. I just can't see one there. And then you've got your little knot in the center holding your little rose. So you do the wind up and then the zigzag. I remember when I first learnt these with Jennifer. I come home, it was a couple of days later, I did some more, and I'd completely forgotten about that little colonial knot at the beginning of it. But they held anyway, but that really anchors them. They're not going anywhere. I think I'll leave it at that because I'll be getting into the distance here and I've got very little ribbon left. So there you go. The little grub roses have appeared. I think what I'll do with those is they'll reappear over here at the schoolhouse or the hall, just to sort of follow that path and make it look interesting. And I think once we get I get more beads in around there, I think my path is going to narrow into the point where it actually will look a little bit more in proportion. And I believe I still need to do that white. Yeah, I'm going to cut myself off a piece of that so that I do it. So we're on the hour. We're going to bid farewell. Have a lovely day. I hope you get some stitching done, and I hope you're not just having a coffee and about to race out the door, which is, you know, life in general, isn't it? I'm going to have a quiet day today. I really should do some washing, but that may not happen either. I'm going to just slide a bit of white in here. I think that's what I'm missing. My door is in midair. It's a tiny detail, but it's been bugging me. Yeah, that's what we need. We need the plate of which the door anchors to, don't we? Or the opening. The steps. It's a bit of an afterthought considering I've got flowers in the way now. So now I'm just going to couch that down with some stitches just to anchor those big long stitches into position. It's a tiny detail, but I think it's helped actually. Well, I'm happier. There we go. Yeah, it has. Ah, that's all it needed. I hadn't finished building the building. All right, guys, I better leave you be now. You'll be thinking she's never going. Let me know in the comments what shops we need in our town. Definitely need 3. Could sacrifice the post office, But we might have mates that we need to mail, happy mail to. But definitely 3. The baker. Oh, a baker could stay. All right. Let me know. And yeah, we're going to rename our buildings. Our commercial development is going to have some new leases turn up. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the last part of our village. Look after yourselves. Have a lovely day. Bye.